David Davila. Welcome. David, who will do a presentation of neglect and psychiatric disorder in children, and he will speak in French.
Yeah, sure. When I was just a baby, my mother used to do the most incredible thing that made me into the man I am today. She would look me straight in the eyes, cover her face, and she would say, "Peekaboo!" Parents play with their kids. It's what they do. They wiggle their toes and they tickle their bellies and they talk to them in that baby voice that's really cute but also kind of annoying. And in fact, these kind of games can be found across all cultures. In the Netherlands, they say kikebo. In Japan, it's ina inaiba. And in Hindi, it's luki chapi. But when human behavior like that is found across many cultures, it usually means there's a specific reason, and often a biological one. But what kind of evolutionary advantage could peekaboo have? Well, by looking at children who have been neglected, we can see how vital and how important these games are. We take the example of a teenager named John. Because of his family circumstances, John was fed and clothed and bathed, but he spent most of his baby years alone in a dark apartment with no one to play with him. No peekaboo, no toes wiggling. So what happens when a baby is raised without love and affection? Well, John's parents soon found out that he didn't respond to parenting the way his brother, Frank, did. When Frank was punished, he seemed sad that he disappointed his parents. But John never seemed to care. And John, unlike Frank, avoided all physical contact. Ultimately, John, as a teenager, was convicted for the murder of 2 of his classmates. But when he was asked about the murders, he wasn't violent or angry. He was cold and unfeeling. John was ultimately diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, which means he couldn't empathize with other people the way we usually do. But he wasn't born a bad seed. John was a product of his environment. You see, when babies are developing, their brain is guided by this idea of plasticity. The more a brain area is activated, the stronger its signal is. And so when a baby suddenly sees its mom's face, it feels happy, and that association is strengthened. When a mother grabs its baby's hand, there's reward centers in the brain that are activated, and so it learns to love, to touch, and hug people. And that's how we, early on, learn to empathize with other people, learn to touch and hug the people we love. But since John had so few of these interactions, these brain pathways were weak. Parents are taught to nurture their children in every way possible, including emotionally. These silly little games are universal and instinctive for parents because they serve a specific purpose. They actually help build the incredibly complex network our brain needs to socialize. In a way, you might say that all of us can relate and understand each other because of games like peekaboo. Thank you.
Please.
So to what extent is peekaboo a human parental behavior, or do we see this in other animals?
Ooh, that's a good question. To my knowledge, I don't know of any. My mind immediately goes to chimpanzees, of course, which are one of the most social animals we know. But to my knowledge, there aren't things that are as advanced maybe as peekaboo, which plays on the fact that children don't have object permanence, so they really think their mom is gone, and then she's there again, yay! But there are definitely these kinds of things that adult primates do. They play with their children's hands, they like cuddle them, they do these same kinds of things to care for them and teaches them to be social animals as well.
And what therapies can be put in place for your
oh my God, I'm so glad.
Classmate murdering friend?
I'm so glad you asked, though. Okay, so this story comes from, the example I used comes from a book my mom gave me before I left for Paris, and it's this psychiatrist who did a lot of work with children who have been traumatized and neglected, and he eventually developed a neurodevelopmental regimen in which we don't treat people who have disorders like these as they would be adults. We treat them as if they're children. They get the same regimented physical contact, usually through massage therapy, and like rhythmic training in order to help them learn the things that they missed as children. It's slower because children's brains are like super plastic, but for him it's been working.
Okay, thank you very much, David.